2, 1.
Well, look at that. Not only are we on time, but according to my clock, we're 40 seconds early. So I think that might be a first in our history.
It could be.
Hey, it's Sunday. It is almost 8:30, and you're turned into episode number 311 of this little shindig we call Sports Talk 916. I'm Coach Greg. That's Greg Bull right there, freezing in his garage. And yeah, we're here to talk a little sports and bitch and moan about pretty much everything else.
That's right. And I just want to say good morning to everybody, including Nate Robinson, who hopefully should be waking up by now. Good Lord. Dave, I'm in the shower. I hope that makes your morning. We appreciate you. Hopefully it's a cold shower. I don't know.
I think I just threw up a little bit in my
mouth. But yeah, so lots to talk about today. We'll obviously talk about the fights last night. We will talk about the Kings. They finally made a move after we got off the air on last Sunday. We'll talk about the NFL because the NFL is in trouble and it's not looking good, and we have some questions about that. We'll talk a little bit of fantasy because it's Greg versus Greg this week, and we'll do our pick rundown. So let's start off with the fights. Did you get to watch them, or were you just able to follow along with?
I got to watch about the last 3 minutes or the last 3 rounds. So okay. I think I saw last 4 rounds.
All right, so we'll start off with the undercard, I guess. What's up, Oscar? The only fight on the undercard there's 2 fights on the undercard that people actually cared about, at least here in Sacramento. The co-main event was Jake Paul, Nate Robinson, and Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. But in Sacramento, there was a little bit of interest in the Blake McKernan and Badu Jones bout. And McKernan, Sacramento boy, former military guy, 13-0 in his career, never. Dave has the Saints D in fantasy. So does Verosa this week. 13-0 in his career, 6 knockouts, going up against Badu Jack, who is a 2-time world heavyweight champ or a 2-time champion. It was a stacked fight against McKernan, but I mean Vegas had his odds at -885 going into the fight. He was the underdog by a long shot, and no one expected him to last all 8 rounds. He shows he could take a punch. I think he ultimately earned a lot of respect in the boxing world that he didn't go down early. He was still dancing and throwing punches right up until the end. He did get pummeled, like there's no doubt about that, but overall a good showing. I think it's going to earn him some future fights and some future opportunity, which is great for a young up-and-comer. That was an actual boxing match. It then went to Nate Robinson, former NBA player, and Jake Paul, YouTuber. The only ones who lost last night were us who paid for that crap. Yeah, I didn't pay for it. I did get to enjoy it, though. So, yeah, if you paid the $50, that might be a little bit painful. Nate Robinson, Jake Paul. So this one actually intrigued me a little bit because if you paid attention to any of the shit talking that went on amongst these two or between these two over the last 6 months, you could tell that they genuinely did not like each other. So Jake Paul, this was his second quote unquote professional fight. Nate Robinson's first. And if you watch the training videos that they posted and watch the stuff that they talked about, obviously Jake Paul was a little bit easier to access because his life revolves around YouTube, right? Nate Robinson's a little bit more behind the scenes, but Jake Paul's taking this relatively seriously. Like, he put in a really good camp. If you remember the World Series against the Astros and Dodgers 2 years ago, those 2 girls that got kicked out of Dodger Stadium for flashing their boobs on live TV, he's dating one of them. He's been with Julia Rose for quite some time.
Is he really?
she's a little firecracker. If
No
you follow
kidding.
her on Instagram, you know.
Or on Twitter.
Or on Twitter, you see a little bit more than Instagram. But she's been in the news the last like 2 weeks because she's pissed off at Jake Paul because he followed the old adage of if you're training for something, you don't have sex, you don't take out the testosterone in your body. 3 years ago, you don't do anything that's gonna lessen your testosterone. So everyone's like, oh, he's not taking this seriously. I'm like, look, if he decided for 6 months that he's not going to tap that, he's taking it a little bit seriously.
Okay.
Anyways, he's done a lot, and it was 3 years ago. You're right. I'm sorry, Oscar. In 2017. So Robinson, I think his inability to understand what the hell he was doing kind of put a little bit more of a tarnish on their fight. I think if he was an actual boxer, it might have been a little bit better. It might have been a little bit of a different situation. But all in all, Nate Robinson was just a little pit bull who was charging Jake Paul nonstop. He just kept running into him, got punched in the back of the head on one time, and people were like, oh, that was a dirty fight or a dirty punch. Well, if Robinson wasn't running in and ducking his head and trying to basically tackle him over and over again, probably would have been clean. But all in all, Robinson got three-pieced at the end, and it was probably the best combination that we saw the entire night of fights. And it was textbook. Straight, solid jab to the nose, his head lowered down in pain, followed by an immediate uppercut, which set his face right back up to square and level, and then an overhand right-hand hook that landed square on the cheek, and Robinson was out before his hands dropped. I mean, square down to the mat. They interviewed Jake Paul afterwards. They did the whole winner, by knockout, blah, 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 blah. And Robinson was still on the ground. He was on the ground motionless for at least 3 minutes. It could have been 5.
I heard 6 minutes.
Yeah, it was bad. And because the internet never fails, there's now the Nate Robinson challenge going around on Twitter where you just basically lay flat on your face in random places. And someone also photoshopped the end of the fight with Tyson and Jones holding hands, waiting for the ref's hands, waiting for the announcement. And someone photoshopped Nate Robinson laying on the apron behind the ropes, still on the ground while they were doing their thing. So that one was rough. Jake Paul, in his infinite amounts of wisdom, calls out Conor McGregor after the fight, says he'll knock him out in the future. That probably wasn't the best thing he could have said. He was all amped up on juice, knowing that he's going to go get to sleep with Julia Rose again. But then it came down to Tyson and Jones. And first of all, Snoop put on a hell of a performance. Snoop is an OG, a legend. I'm pretty sure that Snoop wasn't even scheduled to perform, but Nate Robinson got knocked out early, and they're like, oh, shit, that doesn't fill up 8 rounds. We need to do something. Snoop, go do every song you've ever done. But the fight was hyped up well. They did a good job. They did their best to chronologize what they were trying to do for this buildup is, being all for charity. Tyson, they say, dropped 100 pounds for the fight. If you watch any of Tyson's training videos, you could tell he took this seriously as like a regular camp. Jones, on the other hand, just didn't get that same vibe. He was doing his normal duck and deke and weird blind punches, and I don't know. Tyson was getting pissed. You could tell throughout the fight. One of my buddies summed it up best. They said one of these guys thought they were going to a fight. The other guy thought they were playing a game. And the way I looked at it, Tyson was looking to finish the fight. Jones was looking to survive the fight and get his payday. He wasn't looking to really go to hands with Tyson. And I don't blame him. Jones's whole career was built on speed, deceptive footwork, and sneaking in punches where he could. As you get to 51 years old, that speed and those things aren't there anymore. Tyson, on the other hand, power always will prevail, and Tyson still looks strong as fuck. He looked mean as hell. You could tell he was getting mad as the match was going on, which wouldn't have boded well for Jones if he really wanted to stand toe to toe. Hard to watch in a way, but still one of the more entertaining things to see going forward.
I don't know. I think I have a little bit of a different take on it. And, I'm always one for nostalgia, and I like seeing things. And, I grew up watching Tyson fight, and I remember before there was pay-per-views, the excitement of actually going somewhere to watch a live feed of it. I remember the excitement of after we started watching on pay-per-view and getting together with a bunch of buddies and watching Tyson just kill everybody. And then Roy Jones Jr. he was a bad dude. I mean, I still remember him hitting a guy in the ribs and knocking him out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how tough this guy was. And God, I hate to say it because I'm not a skinny guy, but I thought it was two Charles Barkleys out there fighting each other. Roy Jones Jr., it was obvious he didn't want to fight. Tyson wanted to fight, but I think Jones saved him from falling on his ass, not falling on his ass, but having a heart attack, because I think if Tyson would have fought for 8 rounds, he would have died. I mean,
I don't believe that. If you go back and watch Tyson's training for this, he said that, and I've watched a few of them, that he was doing 10-round, 3-minute sessions in order to drop the weight he needed to drop. Like, that was his cardio. He was doing, I mean, props to his training and his sparring partners, because I don't know if you heard it during the broadcast, but he was using one of MMA's top trainers.
Uh-huh.
And due to the pad work that Tyson was doing, when they broke camp, he had to go get shoulder surgery. Wow. Because he basically destroyed him using the pads. I think Tyson took it serious. Tyson, like I said, his training was 3 minutes long, 10-round sessions. He wanted to go out and prove that 15 years wasn't, detrimental to what he was, and he wanted to go out and have a fight. They both said that they were looking for a brawl. They weren't going to follow the commission's exhibition rules at the weigh-in. Clearly, one of them was lying and one of them was being serious. I'll let you decide who they were. But, I think, honestly, if Tyson, so it's the Tyson's Legends Only League is what basically put this on, right? It's Tyson wants to get, it's a charity thing. And by the way, I never in my life thought that I would hear Mike Tyson say that we're more humanitarians than fighters now. This is what we're doing it for. We're doing it for charity. I'm okay with that. I was like blown away. Like, it was almost a mature statement from Mike Tyson. I was like, wow, that's fucking amazing. Right. But if it's going to be this, Legends Only League and Tyson wants to keep this going, I ultimately think that if he doesn't train for 6 months, because it was about 6 to 8 months of training for this fight. If he constantly stays in the gym and stays in shape and gets back to a healthier lifestyle, not just smoking pot all day, you might be able to see Tyson put on a show that you wouldn't expect. Now, you're not going to see old Mike Tyson. Like, let's just be clear. I'm not trying to say we're going to see Iron Mike again.
Right.
But you might see a list of legends that want to fight Tyson dwindle down tremendously if he continues to, exhibit a regimen that is, solid. Because this started out originally with Evander Holyfield calling out Tyson, saying he wanted round 3. It wasn't Roy Jones Jr. who put this out there. Holyfield called him out, said, we deserve round 3. Let's do it. Tyson started training. All of a sudden, Holyfield backed out. Like, I don't know that he thought it would be he thought it would be 2 grandpas at a barbecue or 2 uncles at a barbecue, like what they kept saying on the broadcast last night. When Tyson started actually training, I think a lot of those older guys were like, you know what? I'm good. Like, we're not going to do this. And Roy Jones was like, $3 million? Bet. Let's go. Like, I'll go in there for $3 million. Punch me, hit me with one jab, I'll die. I'll just fall down. You know what I mean? Like, I was telling my buddies, I said, dude, get in there. The second the bell rings, you just run around for like a minute. The second you take a jab, I'll throw in the towel. We'll make sure that, you know, the contract states that you just got to get punched once and you get paid. Like, fuck it. Like, let's just go. But it'll be interesting. It was a little sad. It was a little, you know, disappointing in a way. But at the same time, I wonder if Jones had went into it with the mentality of like, let's actually fight and let's not just dance and hug, if the outcome or if the perception of what happened would have been better. You know, like if it would have been two guys trying to fight and not just one of them running around and one of them trying to fight, I think the perception of the overall outcome of everything that happened, I think would have been a lot better.
Right.
But unfortunately, you know, I don't blame a 51-year-old man and a 54-year-old man from not going in there and fighting like they're in their 20s. Like, that's probably smart. Like, I would love to see like in 2 or 3 days, Roy Jones put up a picture of his ribs like on Instagram because, you know, he's a lighter complexion, right? I mean, he's got the darker skin, obviously, but it's a lighter complexion. You're gonna see that bruising. I want to see how beat up he is in like 3 days. Because he even admitted, he was like, dude, that hurt. Like, those body shots still fucking hurt. And quote of the night goes to Mike Tyson, though, by the way, because Jim Gray asked Roy Jones, he goes, oh, so everyone was worried about you getting hurt. Everyone was worried that you were going to come in here and you were going to get hurt. And Tyson interrupts him and goes, whoa, what about me?
Yeah,
no one cared if I got hurt. He's like, I haven't done this in 15 years. I'm a beginner. No one cares if I got hurt or not. And I was dying because, like, you never hear Tyson be candid. You never hear Tyson be like a regular, you know, human being when it came to a post fight interview. And I was loving it. I'm like, dude, that just shows that he's I don't want to say matured because I don't know that Mike Tyson matures, but he's more down to earth. He knows that he's not the old Iron Mike. Like, and from what I understand,
I don't want to see that. I mean, I don't want. This is weird because I'm usually not this way. I'm, you know, I don't want to see Joe Montana and John Elway come back and play quarterback one more time. I don't want to see, you know, some 55-year-old Major League Baseball player, you know, pitcher pitching at 64 miles an hour. I don't want to see that. And I really don't want to see two 50-year-olds. I mean, George Foreman was one thing, but I don't know. I don't want to see that. I mean, I want to see athleticism. I want to see a fight. I don't want to see a dance. I don't want to see two guys out there. And my only thought is, do they have a defibrillator in the room so that if in case one of them has a heart attack, they're going to make it.
Well, and like I said, I think if Jones would have been on a different mindset of this fight, I think you would have seen a little bit more of the athleticism, a little bit more of the power, a little bit of a true boxing match, as opposed to Tyson getting a couple hits and Jones going, oh, fuck, he's getting fast, and like hug him and stop and start all over. And then on top of that, I know it's exhibition, but that ref was letting that shit go on way too long.
Looks like he tried to stop it in the 7th and 8th round. It looked like he was trying to get him to fight a little bit more.
Yeah, but by then, I mean,
then it was done. Yeah,
Jones needed oxygen by the 6th round. Like, keep them apart the first 5 rounds and then let them hug it out. You know. But I don't know. I think it would have been. I think your perception would have been a little bit different had both guys wanted to just go in there and have a match and not just, you know, one of them. I mean, like I said, Jones got $3 million, Tyson got $8 million, Charity got a lot more than that. You know, I understand why they did it, and I still enjoyed it. My last memory of I didn't watch Tyson on his third comeback trail as much. Like I remember seeing it, but they don't stand out to me. I do remember him quitting on the stool in his last fight, but I remember the bite. Like that's what I remember. And I was always a Tyson fan prior to that. Like I was young when Tyson bit Holyfield, I was 11. But my family were very, very deep into boxing. Like that was one of their like guilty pleasures. So growing up, I watched a ton of boxing matches, and I was a huge Tyson fan as a kid. And even at 11 years old, I remember having a poster of Tyson in my bedroom. Like Tyson was like the GOAT for me my entire life. So like at least seeing him go out, not sitting on the stool and quitting for me was a cool experience. Like, do I want to see him get in the ring again? Probably not. Now if like Jake Paul calls him out and was like, oh, I can fucking take on Tyson, I want to see that. Like I want to see like some young like loudmouth kid that thinks he's a hot shit like at 23 years old go in there and just fucking get murdered by Tyson. Because if it's a real fight, I still think Tyson can fuck somebody up.
I guess my memories, I mean, I think I probably watched every professional fight that Tyson had. It was just something we did. And I had a lot of friends who were into boxing, and we, would buy the pay-per-views and go places. And so I think I saw every fight that Tyson had until probably the end of his career when he wasn't Tyson anymore. But when he was truly Iron Mike, I saw every fight. And, the picture I have of Tyson is showing up with a towel over his head, or a towel cut off and wearing like a poncho, all black, and just going in and being a badass. And that's not the Tyson I remember. And I know he's, not the Tyson of old, but that's the memory I have. And that's how I want to remember him. And I don't know. It didn't do it for me. It really didn't.
If anything, I think that seeing him in the ring again at least helps a little bit for the nostalgia point for like people like us that enjoy Tyson as the fighter. Because if you think about it, the younger generation now, what do they know Mike Tyson for? For being in The Hangover.
Yeah.
For
having a face tattoo.
For having a face tattoo. I mean, the pot smoking generation now knows him as one of the biggest, marijuana tycoons on the planet, which is, whatever. But it was good to see him go out in the ring again and at least be like, look, that's Mike Tyson. He's not just a little like cameo movie star or whatever. And fun fact, I heard now like from multiple like stories and shit online that Tyson is like one of the nicest people. Like if you run across him in Vegas or whatever, and you're respectfully like go up to him and say hello and like don't just like yell like, hey, all right, bro, like treat him like a human. Apparently he's like one of the most approachable people in Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, and I guess like someone was saying if you're at Tyson Ranch at his dispensary and he happens to be there and you're nice to him and you're whatever, there's been multiple reports of him stopping what he's doing and giving like private tours around the whole facility and like showing people around. And yeah, so it's like I think he finally turned a corner. I think he realized that he doesn't have to be an idiot to still be likable and still be a superstar, because he's never going to not be a superstar.
Right.
But I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was cool to see him in the ring. It kind of brought back those nostalgia feelings. But Oscar says he wants to see you and Paul go at it in Lot J. He could have Joe as the DJ, Mike Barnbaum and Keith Jogonatis do the play-by-play, and you guys take a half a shot after every round and just go at it. So,
is that me or you?
I'm going to say you, just because.
I'm going to say you because there ain't no. I can't really, unless I can bring my knee scooter with me. I'm not doing too much boxing.
See, the thing is that like Paul and myself have too much of a height difference, so it'd be like Manute Bol versus Muggsy Bogues. So it's gotta be you. I mean, I'm sure that's what Oscar was saying.
I don't think so.
Anyways, let's do this before we talk Kings.
See, he doesn't want me.
Well, he doesn't want you to have a coach, is what he's saying. Not coached. He wants you to just go in by yourself.
No.
And just fight. Let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about what you do in your everyday life, and we'll get ahead to Kings talk here.
Cool. Hey, it's getting to be about that time. It's still a great time to sell. Great time to buy. I can get you in places. I've gotten people in. My last clients, I got into 3 different houses within a month and a half because of things falling out, not due to them, but problems with the houses. And we canceled, and I got them back in right away. So we can get you into a place. Spent a lot of time this weekend working on my marketing, and I took some pictures, not avoiding what my situation is, but kind of embracing it and taking some marketing pictures with my knee scooter, and had a lot of people ask me, well, can you go upstairs? Can you show me houses? And the answer is yes, I can. I have a team put together of people that if I can't do it, they will do it, and I'm in constant contact with them. So you're going to get taken care of. And one of the comments that I heard when I asked for some feedback was, it's obvious that you can work around issues and get things done. And that's kind of what I pride myself on is, there's nothing too big that we can't work our way around. And that's kind of how I built my business and my whole life on. So if you're looking for a house and that's something that you want to do, now's a great time to do it. Don't put it off too long. Who knows what's going to happen to interest rates? But right now, they're still super low, and there's plenty of chance for us to get you in something, and we can do it quick. So give me a call, 916-223-6688, and we'll get you into a place, and let's get the process started.
That's right. Perfect. And then we're going to carry right along here to Fidelis Canine Training. So Patrick has been an instrumental part of my life the last couple of months with our dogs, Star, Nala, and Thor, getting them ready to be that everyday companion dog that we were looking for when we got them. Nala has, in the last week, gone to Costco with us. She's gone to Winco with us. She's gone to other couple places just to kind of hone in some of the training that she's done. And it's a huge difference in how our dogs behave, their attitude, their demeanor, their all around just likability. And I couldn't have done it without Patrick and the Fidelis Canine Training crew. And Patrick can do the same thing for you, whether you're looking to build that everyday companion dog, whether you're looking to have a emotional support dog, just a dog to be with you everywhere around, just one that has good behaviors when you go outside. You don't want them to rush out the door. You want to be good around other people or other dogs. Like Patrick can shape and mold a dog to any goal that you have. And right now he's running a couple of like Black Friday, small business Saturday. I'm sure he's going to run something for Cyber Monday. But training packages that get you started, get you to see the Fidelis way, and really start to round out your dog's behaviors. So if you're looking for that, if you have questions about that, he's a phone call away. Patrick at Fidelis Canine Training, 916-337-0104. He's right here in Rancho Cordova. You might see me out there multiple days a week. My dogs are there all the time. And he can definitely do what he's doing for us, for you as well. Veteran owned and operated. He is a former Marine. PJ, who works out there with him throughout the week, is also a former Marine. And a lot of the donations, a lot of the packages set money aside for Marine dogs and their families. PJ's dog, Simper, woke up the other morning last week with a huge growth on his neck. Turned out to be some sort of abscess. They don't know really what caused it. But because of the support that people have been given to Fidelis, Patrick was able to rush Simper into emergency surgery, got it taken care of that morning, and he's on the road to recovery. So, while you're helping out your dog, you're also helping out veterans, and you're helping out other dogs out there get the care and the support that they need. So it's definitely a well-rounded cause. So Patrick is at Fidelis Canine Training, 916-337-0104. You can also find him on Facebook and Instagram under the same name. Check him out. Give him a call. And Oscar, for your answer, Patrick does work with wife and kids. He's actually a former children's minister at some of the churches here in town. They do a marriage seminar like once a month up at their church in El Dorado Hills. He has 8 kids of his own. He knows what the hell he's doing, and he can help out wherever he needs. So give Patrick a call, 916-337-0104.
And I had a friend post the other day on Facebook asking if anybody knows any dog trainers, and I went straight to Fidelis and recommended them, and she's going to call them this week and hopefully get her dog in there. And she was talking about the same things that you've talked about, socialization and acting up and running away and things like that. And I thought, this is going to be perfect for him. So hopefully she'll get together with them and take her dogs out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been life-changing for us. So, we're indebted to him for forever. As for the Kings, so we talked about the Kings last week ad nauseum. We talked about, what are they going to do with Bogey? What are they going to do with Buddy? Are they going to sign anybody? Are they not going to sign anybody?
Not.
The answer was yes to all of them. Like, we didn't know. Ultimately, they let Bogey walk for nothing, which I don't necessarily see as a terrible thing as I've thought about it longer. They weren't able to find a trade for Buddy yet. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where they keep him on the docket the entire season. I think, if Buddy ends up balling out of control, I think you may see the phone ring a little bit more. And I don't think just because they didn't make a deal with them at the deadline that they, aren't going to make a deal with them, or not at the deadline, but at Bogey's deadline, that they're not going to take any deals off the table. I think he's going to be called upon. They were taking calls on Marvin Bagley. I legitimately think that the only 2 people on this roster right now that are protected are Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox. Yeah. Everyone else is available. They ended up signing Daquan Jeffries to a 3-year deal. It's not a 2-way contract. He will be on the roster. He played very well in the bubble for Luke Walton last year. They signed Hassan Whiteside to a 1-year deal. I think that'll be good, for rim protection and rebounding. Him and Bagley could be a formidable front court if Bagley could stay healthy. And, I think that, if he plays well, it could be one of those things where they have something on the back end that says, we'll extend you before the season's over if you play well. Like, this could be your future home. Whiteside's still young enough. And, they signed him to a mid-level extension. They signed this Minu kid or whatever it was from Purdue or Vanderbilt or wherever the hell he played, as another big to play behind them. They let Harry Giles go, which obviously hurts Kings fans. But I don't think Harry is out of the question in the future. Oscar says Whiteside sucks. I don't necessarily disagree with that. If we get Hassan Whiteside of 2 years ago in Miami, I think we're extremely lucky. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, Portland got him and then they got rid of him. He must suck again. Well, they got him because Joker went down, in the playoffs. And, you got to fill in the position somewhere. Portland was a damn good team. Their best center goes down. You bring in somebody in order to fill the hole. And, Jokic is coming back. Why do you need Whiteside if you have Jokic back? So you let him go. And the Kings swooped him up. Yeah, they also signed Frank Kaminsky. I think that's going to be a pretty decent signing. You put him at the 4. He's going to be like Belly, who could shoot the long ball, Jokic, whatever. It expands the court. It opens up the driving lanes for Fox and for Halliburton. Nothing that Monte McNair has done. Yeah, it's Joker's in Denver. I'm sorry. It's Jerkic. Nothing that Monty McNair has done screams sexy. Nothing is like, okay, I need a cigarette after he made that signing. Nothing is going to blow the roof off of anything, but it's serviceable players. It's quality players who he basically just waited to see, after all these teams were throwing money at everybody, where guys wanted, like what guys wanted to play. And he was able to get a lot of guys on low money deals. And I don't think he's had a terrible offseason. It's clearly the Kings' goal is not making a playoff run this year.
No.
I mean, you can't expect that to be the case. And I saw someone in one of the Kings groups, I think it was in the Kingdoms, like, oh, the Kings are going to be an 8th seed. That's the goal. Well, fuck, that would be stupid.
I saw that too.
Because if you play for the 8th seed and you get in and you get your ass stomped by the Lakers or Warriors or whoever it ends up being, then you're sitting at like a 14th pick, which does you no fucking good. I don't know if Yogi's still under contract. I want to say no. But
I think they declined his option.
Yeah, I think so too. But
because he's not on the
there's no sense. There's no sense in trying to shoot for an 8 seed. Now, if they play out of their mind and they win, you can't take that away, right? You can't be like, no, stop fucking winning. But that shouldn't be your goal. That's not what you should want as a fan. You should not want to see this team making a push for 8 at this point. McNair needs time. He needs to build a roster. He needs to kind of clear the space of what Vlade did, because Vlade's vision was not right. I think ultimately there was no communication between Vlade and Luke of what they wanted to do. I think Vlade had his vision and he was like, Luke, you're gonna coach these guys. And that doesn't work. And you can see now that there might be some symmetry in the way that they're approaching these players and these signings to see what they can do. And you got to just give it time. I mean, I know Kings fans hate to hear that. I mean, we've been in a rebuild forever, but they have a legitimate general manager in the front office now. And the only thing that worries me so far this offseason, I'm sure you've seen the story, was that Vivek and his son have been in meetings and talking about players. And, if Vivek and his son, who don't have a basketball background, are in there meddling, that's going to be a little bit of a concern. But it's a youth movement. You have to let guys come in and play. But I really hope Vivek just was in there because he was excited and shut the fuck up the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Nick says every youngster should get major minutes, then let the chips fall where they may. Yes, yeah. It's the youth movement. You let them all play.
Yeah. And I think the thing that has me, we were all a little upset that Harry got or not re-signed and signed for a league minimum when,
we could have signed him for $4 million.
We could have offered him more. I kind of agree with you that letting Bogey go for nothing wasn't as bad as we thought it could be, but it would have been nice to be able to get something back. It definitely saves money on our salary cap. And I think in the end, what I've come to decide is I think they're looking for a complete culture change. They're looking for a complete roster turnover. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some more players leave that that we think we're the young core that we talked about a couple years ago as being the future of this team. And I think this general manager wants to build the team in his vision, maybe with a little bit more being in tune, like you said, with how Walton likes to coach and how his team goes. But I think the thing that I see is there's a long range plan. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not sure if I like it or not, but I think there's a long range plan. And it sucks to lose these guys without getting anything. It sucks to have them sign for less somewhere else. But I think we have players now. I mean, Halliburton wanting to come to Sacramento, I think is a
Yeah.
big step forward. And the other thing that with people saying that we've been in a rebuild for 15 years now. Well, no, we haven't. We've been in like 4 rebuilds that have all lasted 4 or 5 years because that's how long those general managers were around.
Well,
So,
and like what I have on the screen here, what Nick said, he says we've never went about the rebuild in the right way. It's always been band-aids.
right.
And literally since Vivek took over this team, it's been a band-aid. You know, he parades out all these former players for these roles they shouldn't have been in. He, talks about, these different, like, it's always been a nostalgia band-aid nonstop since Vivek took over. And the big band-aid was Golden One Center. Oh, well, we built Golden One for you. Now give us a couple years to sign. And then, oh, we didn't do so well with Pete D'Alessandro. Oh, no. Oh, here's Vlade Divac. Feel good about it. Vlade's back. And then Page is on his squad. And now Page is the general manager of Stockton. And now this. It's constantly been a let me just pull on your heartstrings motion instead of bear with me, let me hire the right people, and let's do this the right way. And I think finally, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's minority ownership that has finally gotten into Vivek's head and goes, look, and COVID maybe have a part of it as well, because you can't keep putting band-aids on shit. And I think fans especially are learning that you can enjoy the sport without spending the big money to go to the game. And if you continue to roll out these mediocre rosters and these mediocre, foundational players that you're trying to build a franchise around, fans aren't going to pay top dollar to come see them. They're going to be like, you know what? I can watch it at home. I can spend, $16 on a 24 pack of beer instead of $16 on 2 little beers. I can eat my own food. I can do my own thing. I don't need to go to the arena and spend $150 a night or $200 a night when I take my family down there.
Yeah.
And, so COVID, may have been that light under Vivek's ass that goes, shit, I lost a lot of money. And fans are starting to see that they can do the same things they did without coming down here and spending money. Like, maybe we need to right this ship because, Vivek's got money coming out of every orifice in his body, but eventually that's going to run dry. And without the fans being happy about the product on the court, it's going to run dry. And so I think it's important to note that, there is a direction. I think that, it's going to take time, and fans, I mean, if anybody can be patient, it's Kings fans, right? We've been patient forever. But it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Oscar, I agree with you. I'm okay with Giles leaving. I don't like him leaving necessarily, like, as a person and as a player, because he loves Sacramento, like, through his core. But it sucks to see him go, but I get why. Like, he never really proved that he's a part of the future in a sense. Like, potentially he was there, but at the same time, like, if you would have told me he signed in Portland for $4 million, I'd be like, okay, I'm good with the Kings not doing that. Yeah. But the fact that he signed for the league minimum, which is like 1.2 or 2.3 or whatever the hell the league minimum was, kind of bothers me that you wouldn't take a 1-year feeler on him to see if he can play better. So I'm more perplexed about him leaving than upset, just because I feel like, there were other routes they could have went with him if that's the money that he was going to sign for. But, I'm not the general manager. It's not my job to really criticize what's being done. It's my job to just be a fan and wait for the outcome.
Whoa, wait a minute. No Sacramento Kings fan is not a general manager.
I've never claimed
every Sacramento Kings fan thinks they're a general manager. And here's one of the positive things. So we're going to prove some people right one way or the other. And all those people that have been bitching about us losing Whiteside a couple of years ago, and then him all of a sudden being an all-star level player. If he comes back and plays, okay, you guys are right. If he comes back and plays his normal good 1 game, bad 3 game type thing, then we can go, see, you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Exactly. And that's the thing is Kings fans, like, I almost feel like every Kings group needs one person. And like maybe what they do is they put up a poll in the very beginning of the season, right? Or the very beginning of like a group. And they go, okay, in order to join this group, you have to tell us how big your computer's hard drive is. Right? And it's like, okay, well, I only have a 256 gigabyte hard drive. Okay, well, I have a 4 terabyte hard drive. I can save as much shit as I need. And then they reach out to this person and go, hey, if you want to be in the group with your 4 terabyte hard drive, your job is to screenshot every dumb fucking thing that's posted. That way, when people come back later on and go, oh, fucking, I told you this is a terrible idea to fucking sign Giles or let Giles go or sign Whiteside, you open up that folder called receipts and you go, nope, you're a fucking liar, and then boot those people from the groups. Like, that would save Kings fans so much heartburn and anxiety and just like nausea. Like, I feel like that's required because there's gonna be those people that they're hell bent right now on proving that they know more than McNair, and when they get proven wrong, they're going to backtrack quicker than you can ever imagine,
and they disappear.
Yeah, or they'll disappear completely.
Yeah,
and
there's a few people that I haven't seen on any of those boards for a while that have disappeared.
Right. And yeah, and Nick is absolutely right. We have a lot of lifelong trolls in the kingdom, not true fans. And that's paramount. Like, there's no doubt about that. So, fun fact, I mean, if you're in the kingdom and you see like Nick or someone like that post, he actually knows his shit. Like, he doesn't have a lot of outlandish shit that comes through. So, you'll over time you start to pinpoint where the Oscar, I only have a 256 terabyte or 256 gigabyte hard drive, so I can't afford to take that many screenshots. But the kingdom, man, holy shit, you would lose your mind. You'd have to have folders for each person. Like,
oh yeah,
you would have just a folder designated, and it would just fill up so quickly. Insanity. But Kings fans, I guess, have to look at the promise, that there's a general manager in place. Things are going to get better. And you just kind of have to, I hate to say it, but we have to wait it out. I mean, there's really no other way to do it. The other side of it, yeah, Oscar, there's a few pot stars in there, right? I wonder if you know any of them personally. But there's at least an aura of hope. The other thing, which blows my mind about Kings fans, is the lack of reading comprehension, the lack of understanding of how things work. Kings fans right now can go in and spend $30 on a cardboard cutout and have their body, their likeness in the stadium for the entire season. It's 50% off for Black Friday weekend or whatever. But if you go to the Kingdom and you read the post there, they're criticizing Vivek for price gouging. Oh, they're going to charge you $30 and you have to go in and pick a game you want and you have to buy it every game. And I'm not going to pay $30 a game to sit in my seats. Dumbass, fucking read. It's $30 and they put you in a seat, and they're not hiring people to go in and remove fucking cutouts and put a new one in and then move you from section fucking 1 to 400 because you decided to switch seats. Like, read the fucking post. And if you don't understand it, don't fucking post. It's mind-blowing to me that those people have jobs, are able to fucking I mean, it just blows my mind that people function in a day-to-day lifestyle because of the shit. Based on your team now, what is your rotation? So I think you start the year. I mean, obviously you have Fox and Buddy in the backcourt.
Yeah.
Small forward is Barnes. The dilemma is the front court. Do you start Bagley and Holmes with Whiteside and Halliburton, the first two off the bench? Do you start Whiteside because of the veteran presence over Holmes at the at the center and you start Bagley and Holmes depending on production, and then you have one of those guys come off the bench and fill in and go small. You
Or do you
know,
have Bielitsa start?
yeah, and then you have Bagley up. Like there's the Kings have a logjam at the top of the top, and you know, I'm glad that they paid. Yeah, Nick, I agree. It should be open competition, except for the backcourt. Like the starting two is. I mean, you might even have Halliburton pressure Buddy. Like I guess the only guaranteed starter right now would be Fox. You know, Bagley needs to prove that he's going to be productive. You can afford to start him on the bench. You know, Whiteside with his money can be on the bench to start the game. You know, if they paid him more than the veterans minimum, I think you have an argument that the money for him starts, but they didn't, which is good. You know, so you can look at him and go, dude, you're on a vet minimum. Like you need to play and show that you're worth a contract. Fucking shut up and you're coming off the bench. Holmes and Whiteside starting together would be a nasty front court, but there's not a lot of offense.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to get scoring from down
low.
Well,
it's not even needing to get scoring from it per se, but the defense knows that there's not a lot of scoring coming from your starting bigs. So at that point, they don't have to play true defense. Like they don't have to play honest defense. You know, so you have to have a good blend in order to have a perception that all five guys can score. You can't put three non-shooting bigs out there or, two non-shooting bigs out there that aren't going to do anything. But then you also have to look at it too. Luke's is going to have a little bit of trouble because not only did they they have Holmes and Bagley that are the incumbents, right? They're the ones that are coming back. But then you have Whiteside, you have Kaminsky, you have, then you have Belly. There's a lot of bigs that can shoot the ball. Like typically your backup lineup, you go small ball. The Kings have an opportunity to go fucking small ball or big ass ball, like big ball, giant ball, big. I don't fucking know what you would call it. The opposite of small ball. Like they can load it up with some big ass dudes and have matchup nightmares across the court. But on defense, you're going to lose a lot of speed, which is going to be a problem because if guys go small, they're just going to run you out. Like Luke, I think it has a pretty tough decision to make when it comes to the rotations, and I think a lot of it is going to come down to, who performs well in camp, who performs well, to start the year. And I hope that these players are willing to accept if they don't start out strong that they're going to come off the bench. But at the same time, I don't think, and I'll ask you this, can you afford to not start Barnes and Buddy if you truly feel that there could be a trade market for them? Like, wouldn't it be better to roll them out there and let them be like in the open nonstop in the beginning of the year and see if you can find a trade market for them?
Absolutely. They're not in your long range plans. Barnes isn't going to be, he's not in your 3 to 5 year plan. I think starting him, Buddy's probably not in your 3 to 5 year plan. So get them as much playing time. And then when it comes time for the trading deadline, then, you can maybe turn those into some draft capital and some expiring contracts and clean up the salary cap situation, because I have a feeling the salary cap's going to go down. It's not going to go up.
Right.
So you're going to have to clean that up a little bit before you can start any kind of rebuild. And the other thing is, this draft is supposed to be one of the best drafts in a long time. There's a lot of quality players in it. So you could really, with Fox and Halliburton and getting a couple of good draft picks for next year, I think you can really start a new core that actually might, come in and work together well and play well. And I think that they're getting themselves set up for something that could be good. But, the way it goes around here in this area, it could suck too. You just never know.
So John says Buddy has to start. Vivek will make sure of that. So let me ask you this: Does Vivek get in there and do his little meddling thing and force Buddy to start for the fact that he's so high on Buddy, and he basically cements him as like our future guy, right? Because he loves him based on he could be the next Clay or whatever he used to say. Do you think Vivek gets in the way of potentially trading Buddy Hield should the right offer come through? Because I don't disagree with John. I think that, Vivek, if he does continue to put his input in, wants Buddy Hield to be your starting two guard. But if he starts him and he balls out of control and a team has an early injury or early, non-production, and they know that Buddy Hield is available and they make an offer that you can't refuse, do you think Vivek steps in and says, no, we're not moving him?
It wouldn't surprise me. I would hope he wouldn't, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. He's got, he's been pretty good the last year and a half, 2 years of kind of moving to the background. But, I think, knowing him and knowing his personality, or not really knowing him, but knowing his personality, I wouldn't be surprised if his thought is, okay, I step back and look, it still sucked, and I had to get rid of Lottie. So now I'm going to go back to putting my 2 cents worth in because I know what I know what I'm talking about, and it's my team, and I'll do what I want. I could see that attitude from him. I would hope that he learned his lesson and takes the complete, stay out of it approach that maybe the minority owners have gotten to him. But, this dude's unpredictable, and you just never know what you're going to get with him. So,
John, I completely disagree with you on that. He says, I think Vivek said Fox and Buddy are my cornerstone and I want to keep him before hiring Monty. If that were the case, then the Kings would have come out and said Buddy Hield's not available for trade. The fact that they shopped him to damn near every team available before deciding on Bogey tells me that was not the case. Buddy, I think before, when they offered him that extension, I think that fits the narrative. But the fact that he got paid and then underperformed as much as he did and had the bad attitude that he had and was verbal about disliking of the coach and whatever, I think that tarnishes that approach. We're going to get to that next, Mark. I honestly feel that Buddy is expendable. I just think it's going to be for the right price. But at the same time, I also feel that them not trading him now at the expense of Bogey was smart, because if he goes in and he starts again and has a change of heart and he's productive, maybe he was having a bad year. Maybe him and Luke can sit down and hash it out, and then you find out that Buddy does in fact want to be here, and he's productive, and he takes on a different role. Like we talked about it last week. I would love to see Buddy kind of have more of a Klay Thompson role where it's not so much on the ball. You handle the ball every now and again, but you're more of a moving pick and pop. Use the screens and use your shooting, your God-given natural ability to shoot the basketball. You use that as your main weapon. If Buddy can adapt, Buddy may find himself in the 3 to 5 year plan. I think if they would have moved him now at the expense of Bogey, I think you fuck that up, because there is an opportunity for him to be the player that they extended. What can you say about a possible signing of Glenn Robinson III? If they can get Glenn Robinson III, even at the full mid-level exception, I love that deal. I think Glenn Robinson is a gritty player. I think he has a good shot. He plays defense. I have no problem with that. bringing in Glenn Robinson also opens the door for more talks on Harrison Barnes or Corey Joseph or some of those guys to be traded out, which, if you build depth, you have an opportunity to move contracts you don't want. So I'm all for that. John says, Belly, Joseph, and Barnes are the only guys we will trade. I don't feel they shopped him like that. I feel they told him Walton will be gone soon. Bogey was less money. Buddy is here longer than Walton, in my opinion. You're right. I don't think they care about winning this season, but I feel that they care about building a core this season. And in order to figure out what that core is, they have to explore Buddy being moved. Robinson's a 2-3. They want a top lottery pick. So if they want a top lottery pick, then you move Buddy Hield and you get rid of a weapon on offense and you bring in draft picks. I mean, you don't leave if you truly want to tank, you don't leave a guy that like Buddy Hield that can go on a hot streak and drop 40 in a game.
Right.
If you're truly looking for a top lottery pick and they feel that Halliburton is the future at 2 alongside Fox, there's no spot for Buddy Hield on this roster. So, I think Buddy is absolutely expendable. They will try to shop him. And it'll be a matter of time. I don't think Walton gets fired this year. I think they let Walton run and see how things go. And, they ride out the wave because, you have to see what this roster is going to do. And, I truly believe that they're bringing in some pieces and they're setting up for next year to see what they can build with Walton. Right now,
I think the 1-year contracts that they're giving out, they're actually being smart now and not giving these second line players
to Wayne Dedmon money.
Yeah, they're being smart. They're going on 1-year contracts. It's like, okay, we'll play this year. Hopefully, we'll be bad enough to get a good lottery pick. If we're good enough to make the playoffs, then maybe we re-sign a couple of these guys and bring them back. It just gives them some freedom, and like I think it was who said it in here. Somebody said right now. So John McNabb said right now we have major money to spend next year. We do, and I think with that money, and I think if you can trade a Buddy for a first-round draft pick, or if you can trade a Barnes for a first-rounder, if you can do that and you get lucky, there's got to be a little bit of luck in there. But let's say you end up with the second or third pick again, and you have a lot of money to bring in, and with Fox and Halliburton hopefully living up to what their potential has been, that actually starts to become a little inviting to some of these. You're not going to get the LeBrons, you're not going to get the Anthony Davises, but you're going to get the second level free agent that might be willing to come in here with the chance of becoming a top tier player. Kings fans have to realize, and I think a lot of them do, that those top tier guys aren't coming here. Durant's not coming here.
You have to draft a top tier guy. You can't sign. You're not going to sign one.
Yeah.
John says they're giving 1-year deals because they want to have flexibility next year. Monty said over and over again he wants financial flexibility.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If that's the case, then you work very diligently to get rid of Harrison Barnes or Buddy Hield.
Yep.
That frees up the most flexibility you can possibly get. They don't want to sign guys on the second level. They're not going to have a choice. You're not going to sign a top level guy in Sacramento.
No. Unless
you draft a Giannis or Durant or Curry. If you draft one of those guys and they prove early that they're going to be one of those, or Zion, right? You draft Zion to a shitty Pelicans team, you know what Zion's going to bring. Guys are going to want to play with that.
Right.
Fox, as good as Fox is, and we got Halliburton, which was projected to be a top 5 guy at 12. He's still not that, oh my God, we have to play with you player yet.
Yeah.
Could he be? Absolutely. I don't see why he couldn't be, but he's not there yet. He's not that immediate superstar level excitement that you would have gotten with John Morant or a Zion Williamson or, insert top-notch rookie here. So, it's going to be – McNair has – I think the one thing that Monte McNair has in his favor is he's a general manager. Vlade Divac wasn't. I don't think Vlade, while he was respected in the league, while he was, is a legend in his own right, I still think players look for the conversations at signing time to be driven by a true general manager who can speak to the role, not just speak to experience and like analogies and happy thoughts. And every time I heard Vlade talk, it was all just hyperbole. It was all just, well, this is the way that you do it, and this is what you should be doing, and this is what we're looking to do, and this is the culture. Okay, that's great. You could read a fucking, motivational speech of the day calendar. I get that. But how are you actually going to build a roster? And I think a true general manager can point out those will point out those imperfections in a city or in a team. And, I think a true general manager can sell one of those upper B, lower A level guys to, hey, come in here and we're going to build around you, and you're going to be the reason why the Sacramento Kings are put back on the map.
Or you're going to – I don't think that's going to do it. I think it's going to be – you're going to be that missing piece. You're going to be that one last piece that we need to put us over the top. We have Fox. We have Halliburton. We have – hopefully
we have Bagley.
And he comes through, and it's like, okay, player A or player B plus, you're the guy that's going to put us over the top, and that's the way it's going to work out. And I think I think key thing is going to be how the draft pans out next year, and what we do with those second rounders that we have are stored up. I think they're. The more I think about it, the more, again, I don't like it. I'm not happy about the way things are going, but I like it, if that makes sense. And for the short term, it sucks. For the long term, I can see, I'm kind of starting to see what their plan is.
No, Josh, you don't try to get Paul George.
No. That's just what
Nick
we're
says
talking about.
Nick says if we could strong arm a superstar to come here, it would have happened already. Fans are delusional in the way that they think it happens at the snap of a finger. So, Nick, I got a question for you, because I've thrown this out on this show hundreds of times, and we know that all of the big money free agency comes down to two things. One, do I have a buddy that's on another team and we're going to stack a roster to win a championship, a la LeBron, or is it because a big city team can offer more money than a small market team? Now, let's say that a top-notch player is money-driven, right? Let's say Giannis next year wants to go. He wants out of Milwaukee. I mean, who doesn't blame him, right? To want out of Milwaukee. But let's say this. Let's say the New York Knicks can offer him 5 years, let's just say $100 million, right? Or 4 years, $100 million. That's $25 million a year. And the Kings can offer him, I don't know, $485, right? Or let's say the Kings can offer him. Let me rephrase that. Let's say the Kings can offer him $400, but New York comes in and goes, "Oh, we'll give you $120. We'll give you $5 million more a year because we're the big market. We can flex our muscles." If the NBA were to implement some kind of small market salary cap adjustment or small market money adjustment to make it a level playing field, to where, let's say New York offers the amount, and the Kings go, "Look, we really want to sign this guy. We're going to offer more, but our salary cap hit only reaches the number that the big market offered." So New York offers $120. He gets his 22 or whatever it is million a year, right? 30 million a year. And the Kings can come in and offer him $125, but their salary cap hit only hits $120, so they can still go out and sign other players. do you think? Well, yeah, we're not talking literal, James, with taxes, but if a small market team could come in, offer more money than what a big market team would offer, but their salary cap implications are equal to what the big market team offered, I think that would level out the playing field, because little teams get royally fucked over and over again because they can't afford the salary cap hit to make these deals work. So instead of being bullied left and right, you allow the little guys to spend more money without the salary cap killing them, because they don't have to get into a bidding war with a bigger team. The player still gets more money, but the team still has the flexibility to continue to build and make it a competitive roster. I think that fixes a lot of the problems in the NBA, because you can't expect a little market team to have to get into a bidding war and fuck up their roster or their salary cap flexibility in order to stay competitive. If you let those little guys, instead of giving them the what do they call it, the market share split or whatever the hell it is, where they get a little bit more revenue, the revenue sharing, take that shit away and let them have flexibility on their roster, on their spending. Big market team offers LeBron 5,100. The Kings could come in and offer him 5,150, but yet they only have to pay 5,100 on the salary cap. It allows, if those guys are truly money driven and they want to be that top notch guy and get paid, yeah, you might go to Sacramento because you're going to get more money there and you get to be the centerpiece and try to build this roster up. But it's good for the league to do something like that, because you don't have 4 teams that are competing every year. You don't have 4 teams that are signing LeBron and Anthony Davis and all of this other stuff, versus teams with the Kings have to cut everybody because they can't afford to sign a big name guy. And how many years in a row have we looked at this NBA and go, well, it's going to come down to the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Warriors, and on the East it's going to be the Heat, when LeBron was around, it was the Cavs, and insert Boston as a third team. Yeah. It's not good for the league to have 3 teams, much like Major League Baseball. Well, it's going to be the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers over and over again because they have the most money to spend. Even this shit out. Let the NBA have more parity. Let it be more fluid from top to bottom, where you might actually see
more like the NFL.
Yes.
So my solution is a little bit different. It's kind of along the same ways, but it's a little different. And you never hear about the NFL going, talking about, not being able to sign certain players because they're too expensive, or the NFL having a stockpile of players like the Lakers do, or some of the NBA teams. And I think the reason they do that is they have a hard salary cap. There isn't the Bird exception. There isn't the luxury tax. You have a hard salary cap. You got to get under it. There's nothing around it. You have to get under it. And, the thing about the NFL that we all like is, except if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you pretty much have a chance every year to be competitive.
Yes.
Getting lucky in the draft or doing something else, signing a couple of free agents, you have a chance of being competitive every year. It's not
only that though, but there's another quick fix the NBA can do. Get rid of the fucking lottery. If you're the worst team in the league, you get the fucking first pick.
Yeah.
And that allows you to build your roster up. If your team is the worst team in the league and you have an opportunity to fall back to 3 or 4, that's the total horseshit. The NFL allows teams to get better because if you're the worst team in the league, you get the best player in the draft.
Right.
The NBA is a joke when a team like Cleveland can jump up into the number 1 pick 3 out of 4 years or 2 out of 3 years and get Kyrie and get, whoever the other one was. Well, I think they fucked it up and took, what's his name? He's not in the league anymore. I can't even think what the fuck his name is. But, the ability to let the worst teams get better through the draft, that would fix so much more problems. The Kings, what was it, 2 years ago? The Kings were the 3rd worst team and they ended up drafting 6th.
Right.
No, fuck you. I get the 3rd pick. Stop fucking around the lottery.
And I agree with that. And if you put in a hard salary cap, then all of a sudden you're going to have I don't think you can't do it with there's a couple things. There's guaranteed contracts, and there's a hard salary cap, and then there's the draft lottery. And all those three things are, we all hate the fact that the NFL just cuts players. They're just
Anthony Bennett. There's the name I couldn't remember.
Yeah. they're just commodities. And at any time, the general manager can go, Tom Brady, we're done with you. You're out.
Well,
see you
there's
later.
that, but then the NFL doesn't have the buddy system either.
Right.
It doesn't have the players that are like, oh, LeBron went to LA. I'm going to take less money and go to LA. Like it happened a little bit in the heyday of the Patriots, right? They were getting veterans who wanted to finish their career in New England,
right,
taking less money. They weren't getting guys like Anthony Davis and all these other dudes that are in the prime of their career. Perfect example would be Miami when LeBron, Wade, and Bosh all signed there. You weren't getting guys taking less money to go stack a roster. And I think that's
that could also be the fact that three players can have a huge impact on how a team does. Three players in the NFL, there's so many other things that go into it, injuries and size of the team and size of the roster, that you can't bring in one or two guys and make that much of an impact quickly. But you can't.
Yeah, you have to break this Dodger Yankee mentality of we have money coming out of our ass. I don't care how much I get penalized for it. I'm signing everybody to max deals. Even
because the money I'll make if I win an NBA championship as a team owner is going to offset whatever luxury taxes I have to pay.
Exactly.
And I think if you can get rid of that, and just say, okay, you have X number of dollars you can't go over. If you go over $1, you got to do something. You have to cut somebody.
Yeah, perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. Nick just said we were the worst team in the league and ended up drafting Tyreek at 4. If you're the worst team in the league in that draft, you fucking draft the best player available. Who was the best? Brandon Jennings went number 1 overall that year. No, he went number 10. Just kidding. I looked at that backwards. Blake Griffin went 1. You could have had James Harden at 3. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the year Steph went. Obviously, you'd go back now and be like, hey, I'm taking Steph early. But, in hindsight. But, it's just ridiculous that the Kings were the worst overall team and, end up taking the 4th overall pick. Like, it's a broken system. I know that James, perfect example.
Yeah.
Right? The Warriors, Clay goes down with an Achilles, so they trade for Oubre. Oubre makes like $5 million this year because they used the full trade exception on him. But because of his fucking salary cap hit, they ended up paying like $86 million in total for him because of the luxury tax. So, it's ridiculous. It's dumb. And Oscar, you're right. Tyreek was rookie of the year, so that one is a bad example. At least we didn't get screwed player wise, but the Kings should have been the number 1 overall pick that year, period. But anyways, let's move on. Let's stop talking Kings. We have like 13 minutes until we get to football time. Real quick, I want to remind everybody about Albert Chavez of United Wholesale Lending. Albert is my go-to lender. He's been one of Greg's go-to lenders for quite some time. If you're looking to refinance a home, Albert is the guy you need to call. Or if you're just looking to see if it's something that you even are in the market to do, look at numbers, look at your credit score, figure out a plan in order to get to that point, give Albert a call. 916-230-1537. Albert has helped me with 4 houses, helped my family with multiple. I'm sure he's more than Greg can count. Albert knows his shit. He knows how to help, and he's very good at what he does. Albert Chavez, United Wholesale Lending, 916-230-1537. Let's talk football. The NFL is in trouble. This pandemic is ripping through the league like crazy. Teams are dropping players left and right. We'll get to the Broncos here in a minute. The Ravens have had a couple players drop. There's hypocrisy in the NFL when it comes to the way that they're handling games. Great example of that is the Niners-Packer game on Thursday night 3 weeks ago. The Niners literally had to roll out a practice squad. I got a phone call to play wide receiver. I just couldn't be down there in time to pass a COVID test. The NFL kept the game, and the Niners got embarrassed by Green Bay. The Steelers, Lamar Jackson's the first player to go down. They go, oh, we can't let this game go on. We can't play on Thursday night. We'll move it to Sunday. 2 more players go down. Oh, we can't play this game. We're moving it to Tuesday night. The NFL doesn't know how to handle this. They clearly are and before you get to like, oh, well, the Niners suck. I get it. That wasn't a marquee game. Pittsburgh, Baltimore is a much higher priority game, but the Packers are a division leader. They are a top team in the NFL, and you basically gave them a free game, whereas you're making Baltimore and Pittsburgh adjust their schedule to try to make sure that there's not a free pass for either one of those teams. Where on the flip side to that, because we know that the Saints are the darlings of the NFL and they get all the product and all the praise and all the pandering, the Saints today are playing the Denver Broncos, who lost 4 quarterbacks to COVID yesterday. 4. That's every single quarterback on their roster, including the practice squad, that don't get to play.
Yep.
Are the Broncos going to forfeit? Nope.
Nope.
Are they going to reschedule the game?
Nope.
So they're going to literally roll the Saints out there. And the Broncos have come out and said, well, we have Philip Lindsay, who is he played quarterback in like middle school. He's going to be our Wildcat. And we have a wide receiver that played college quarterback for like 3 games. He's going to be a backup, but we're going to roll a team out there. It's bad for the league. They obviously have to fix something. But do you think that they're going to be able to finish this season out at the rate that this is going?
I don't know. I mean, I thought if you asked me that question last week, I say, yeah, there's no problem. They'll make it. They'll have to make some changes, but they'll be all right. But all of a sudden, in this last couple of days, I don't know. I don't know that they are going to make it through all 16 games. And they might make it through 16 games, but I don't think I can see some teams not being able to play and not being able to play a full schedule. And they already kind of knew that, so they've been talking about adding an 8th playoff team in case somebody can't play all the games and they don't have enough wins but a better winning percentage. They're in trouble. I mean, and and Oscar says not sure about college football either. I don't know either. I mean, I think that's even college football is taking an even bigger hit than the NFL is with all the games.
So hold on real quick here. Oscar said, and Baltimore was scheduled they were scheduled for next Thursday against the Cowboys. And that game got pushed back to Sunday because this whole fucking schedule is ridiculous.
Yep.
I don't know how they finish the season. I mean, it's ridiculous to an extent. But you know what? We've also talked about this in the past couple weeks. Like these players, I mean, the COVID thing, like, yeah, it's ripping through these guys, but with all the false positives and all the quick retesting, and they say that a positive test, should result in in normal life, right? It's a 10 to 14 day quarantine. Well, the NFL, you test positive, as long as you have 2 negatives in the next 5 days, you're back on the field. So are they really taking it as serious as they should? Are they really bending the flexibility of the contagious nature of this virus? Are they really taking player safety into consideration, considering they're going completely against what the CDC says, and they're supposed to be the ones giving the full guidelines? Like, at some point, they're either going to have to go, look, we're playing the season or we're shutting it down. We're not going to continue to pretend to take player safety seriously because they're already making up their own rules, which doesn't count.
Right.
So it's interesting. On top of that, we talked about the Niners last 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago having to play a practice squad versus the Packers on Thursday Night Football. The 49ers now have to find a new home field. They have to find a new practice facility. They have to find healthy players because Santa Clara has basically put a ban on all sports from high school through professional level. So the Niners can't even play at Levi Stadium. They can't practice at their facility anymore starting next week.
Yeah, word has it that they're going to play in Arizona. That the Cardinals have offered their stadium for him to play in.
That or go play in Oakland. The old Raider stadium is sitting there empty.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't need to upgrade all the shit for the fans. Just get in there and play. Oscar says, I wonder if we had more tests for the common folk, how many would test negative 1 to 2 days after testing positive? And that's a great question. Like, if we had an opportunity to be like, oh, you tested positive, come back in 2 days. Let's see if it was a false positive or if you literally have it. I wonder how different the numbers would be. I wonder if the NFL, while they're making up their own rules, are circumventing the possible false narrative that all these tests are painting in society. Like, it's really hard to say. Because, and what worries me even more about that is, why isn't the CDC and the WHO and all these other organizations that are shutting down America, why aren't they out verbally questioning the way the NFL or the NBA or whoever it was, are handling this? Why aren't they vocally saying this isn't right? If your guy tests positive, they should be exactly. So it really adds question to the day-to-day of why are things going the way that they are. We talked about Newsom, and his bullshit getting caught last week, just real briefly. It's either all bullshit what he's telling us or he hates his kids because he's still sending them to school, right? There's not anything else. Either the NFL is doing it the right way because there's more false positives than there are true positives, and they can prove it by doing multiple testing of the same players back-to-back-to-back days.
Right.
Or you've quarantined for 14 days. Like, it's not a different virus that's looking and going, oh, you're an NFL player. We're going to go ahead and I'm not going to target you. You're entertaining us. It's the same virus that in California stops chasing people down at 10 p.m. It's getting ridiculous. Are the 49ers playing today? I want to say yes.
Yeah.
I believe they're at home.
No, they're in LA.
Oh, that's right. They are in LA.
That's why they can play today.
Yeah, so it's getting silly. It's to the point now where it's like everyone's going to start questioning everything. Should the NFL shut down their season? Maybe. I mean,
I'm in first place in 2 fantasy leagues, so they can shut down all they want, and I'll be happy.
Well, then we'll just go by default and just cancel the league altogether. You won't win our league. I'm promising you that. I can't believe. I'm sorry. I'm looking at our pick'em. I can't believe James took Dallas to win that game against Washington this week. Niners are in trouble. Broncos are a mess. The NFL's a mess. It's going to be an interesting week, to say the least. We play each other in Oscar. Have a great day, buddy. Thanks for joining. We play each other this week in fantasy. I think if I remember right, you've only lost twice this season, and that's to myself and you lost 3 times now. But myself and Colin Furr, the 2 last place teams, each have a win against you this year. I'm looking for win number 2 against you. That'll be interesting. But let's real quick do our picks for the week before the season starts. We can't change them. It's within 5 minutes. So what you got?
I know it sucks. I'm trying to change the game right now.
I missed the Houston Lions game. I would have had Houston. Can't go back in and change it. So that's a loss for me. I had Washington. So did you. Let's start with the Raiders and Falcons.
Well, with all the players that Atlanta's lost, I should have picked the Raiders, but I ended up going with Atlanta.
All right, I took the Raiders. Chargers at the Bills.
Bills.
I have the Chargers winning that game. Bengals, Giants.
I actually have the Giants.
I have the Bengals. I don't know why, because that was apparently I forgot that Burrow blew up. Go back up, 3rd career start guy in in Cincinnati. Titans, Colts.
Titans.
Vikings, Panthers. I have the Titans as well.
Vikings.
Same here. Cardinals, Patriots.
I'm putting all my money on Arizona this year.
I have that as well. Jets, Dolphins.
Why would anybody take the Jets?
7% of people took the Jets. Browns, Jaguars.
I'm taking Cleveland.
I have Cleveland as well. Saints, Broncos. We know that one.
What's the percentage? I'm not looking on my phone. What's the percentage?
7% of people have the Broncos.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you never know. The Wildcat could fuck the Saints up. 49ers, Rams.
Hate to say it, but I got the Rams.
I'm taking the Niners in my upset of the week.
Wow.
I am gonna. Debo could be back. Mostert could be back, but the Rams have had 2 stellar games back to back. Sherman could be back on defense. Greenlaw potentially could be playing again this week. I'm going to take the Niners in an upset simply for the fact that I think the Rams are due to have a shitter.
I don't think it's going to happen this year or this week.
We're going to see. The Niners already beat them once. Let's see if they can go for this week. And I have to have different games than you. I have to try to climb back up this list. I bet I'm the only person taking
the way
Niners.
I've done the last couple of weeks, if you pick against me, you're doing pretty good.
Right. Chiefs, Buccaneers. This might be the game of the weekend.
Yeah, I got Kansas City.
I have Kansas City as well. John McNabb's still on. I guarantee you he's taking his Bears over the Packers. I can't do it. Aaron Rodgers is playing great football. I do think this is going to be a grinded out game. I think that the Bears are going to play at a level that we haven't seen them play in a while, just because they always seem to play very well against the Packers. But I bring it down to quarterbacks, and unfortunately, I cannot take Nick Foles over Aaron Rodgers. I also think that unless Khalil Mack breaks out of his shell that he's been in this season, it's not going to be a pretty game.
No.
It's 5 p.m. So 8 p.m. in Green Bay in the end of November. It's probably going to be a nasty. Oh, Mitch is back then? Yeah, no chance at all. I definitely take Aaron Rodgers over Mitchell Trubisky. So I think it's going to be a nasty, cold-ass game, and Rodgers is going to prove that Mitchell Trubisky isn't ready. Terrible. And then Seahawks, Eagles. Monday night in Philly.
I got Seattle.
I have Seattle winning that game as well. So as of right now, the standings in our pick'em, Morgan has jumped up into first place with 111 right. Josh Zimmerman is in second with 109. James Heinz, 107. Myself and Mike are tied at 105. You're back there tied with Bobby at 101. TJ, 95. Mitch in the last 5 games got outperformed once. Okay, great. But in those last 5 games, he didn't play Aaron Rodgers. So I don't see him being outperformed, especially after as much time off as he's had, time away that he's had. I just don't see Trubinsky outdoing Aaron Rodgers in the cold. I just don't. Now, I will say this. I think that going forward, Trubinsky likely will be a little bit better option than Nick Foles, because Foles is proving why he's been a career backup. He just can't perform. So I think that, the Bears have a good shot going forward with Trubinsky, but I just don't think today's the day that happens. We'll see how it goes, but I've learned you don't vote against Aaron Rodgers quite often.
No.
All right, John, have a good one, buddy. I appreciate the interaction. For everyone else, that pretty much wraps it up. Nice long show today, hour and a half. Good interaction, good talks. It's football time. Niners play at 1. Raiders are on now. Let's go watch some football. Greg, I appreciate it. For Greg, I'm Greg. This was episode 311. I'll get this one and 310 up on iTunes this week. But for the Gregs, for Albert Chavez, for Fidelis Canine Training, and Greg Rosen Realty, this has been episode 311. We will see you guys next week.
Night, Larry.